Guys, today we are waiting and wondering. Of course, we have a giant spaceship headed towards us. Osiris is climbing a mountain, apparently, and frankly we have more questions than answers, but today we're jumping in with some news and discussion, and maybe we can get a bit of an insight into a few things. So, initially it seems like the tower is indeed in imminent danger, and we have a few tidbits about how the season will end. We'll also touch on whether Bungie are teasing a new enemy race, the likely involvement of Morro in the fall expansion, as well as the new location, but then we do have some small updates from Bungie. A couple of things about Season 11 and 12, as well as loot changes, and then we've got God mode glitches and more to talk about in the video. So I hope you guys enjoy this one as always, but now let's get into it. This week we got the teaser that suggests the pyramids are passing Jupiter. We've been having the other wall map teasers week over week, but then with the leaked teaser for the fall expansion, and the fact that we know the Almighty is looming above our heads, Bungie have managed to create a huge amount of suspense, whether it's for ending the season, revealing the next season, or the season after that. But otherwise, the immediate question in the game remains, when are we going to do something about the Almighty? And of course, it's getting dangerously close to Earth at this point. But players pointed out that this week Anna Bray said that Rasputin is at full power, and says when this is over, Sol will be much more open to us. Red's new defense matrix is a scaffold. We can even plop a nice colony down in his shadow on Mars. Goodbye war with the Cabal. Hello second golden age. The future is bright, Guardian. Shine on. And so, it is just as well that Rasputin's actually ready to go, but we are going to need him to make a move pretty soon. And have all been asking ourselves the question, how is this going to happen? And while we don't know for sure, Jinsa shared, the Almighty is no more. Come to the tower to see the fallout and pick up your commemorative emblem. Apparently this is the text description for after the Almighty is destroyed. But, of course, it could be a little bit of a meme there about how things could actually pan out. And of course, we know that we'll get an emblem reward, but we're not actually sure we'll see a line of text like that. So, who knows? Are we going to get a cutscene? Is some kind of real-time world event going to take place where you can actually see Rasputin take the Almighty out in the game? Or, as the meme often suggests, are we simply going to sign in and be told, the Almighty is gone? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and find out. Another very interesting element is the text about the fallout in the tower, and that's because, spoiler alert, but we have seen glitched instances where the tower shows some damage. And there was always potential for this to be linked, but this would seem to indicate that indeed some lasting damage will be sustained. And I really wonder whether Bungie are going to do something dramatic with the social hub in the fall. I think it'd be cool to see a different social hub. Maybe we rebuild the tower or something like that. But back to the story for this season, how do you guys think it's going to happen? Definitely we will be slightly disappointed if we just see the Almighty blow up in a cutscene for 2 seconds, and then get an emblem dropped. I was also going to say before, on the point of Anna being so excited for the future, I wonder why Rasputin hasn't bothered to tell her about the ginormous pyramid ships yet. Either way, the timing on when the Almighty is going to be taken down doesn't appear to be very predictable, so maybe it's something we're going to see on one of the upcoming daily resets soon. But here, let's speak about content teasers for the fall and some pretty cool things to take note of regarding Osiris, the reveal, and more. So we should mention that Bungie last week described it as the calm before the storm. And while it is predictable, they are very much telling us that things are going to liven up. But looking to the teaser from earlier this week, we had the leaked reveal cinematic that showed up on Bungie's Instagram. And initially, on the location, a lot of us in the community jumped to Europa, being one of the primary destinations that we know Bungie have had concepts for quite some time. However, some folks did say, couldn't it be Enceladus? And that would be a pretty good shout, especially given the teasers in D2 from Cade and other places, including the info we have about Deepstone Crypt. But we see Jupiter very prominently in the background in the artwork, and Enceladus is indeed a moon of Saturn, so I assume that Jupiter is significant and Europa is much more likely, but also, people on Reddit shared that Bungie have a hidden new subdomain called europa.bungie.net, and this could actually be where the site and API contents go for the upcoming reveals and info about the expansion. But outside of the location, it would also appear that the mysterious glow in Osiris's hand is quite possibly a charge of light. So, on Reddit, Scotty B and Vontar pointed out that the mandala-style sigils are incredibly similar to the charge of light in the Dreaming City, and it would make quite a bit of sense. Obviously, it's a mysterious new energy that we're going to learn more about regardless, but importantly, we do know that Osiris and Mara were working together, and since Osiris is once again going to be pivotal to the new story, at least in the beginning of the story based on what we've seen, then we are much likely to hear something of Morro as well. Who knows, maybe Osiris is using the charge of light to gain inner light because she has none of her own. Entirely possible. I mean, you gotta fuel up if you're going snowy mountain climbing. Or alternatively, as folks have said, we could be looking at new abilities and so on. Either way, it's clearly gonna have quite a bit of story significance, so I'd be curious to get thoughts from you guys in the comment section. One final thing we can touch on in relation to the June 9th reveal is Bungees Descriptions. So JP Deathblade highlighted that Bungie used the word unveiling for the content they're going to reveal on June 9th instead of reveal, which is typically what they'd say. So we can see various different reveal images right there from Bungie using the word reveal. But unveiling could potentially be a slight tease to a new enemy race that has also been leaked alongside a lot of details that are looking to be correct about this particular content drop. With us so far seeing Europa, Eris Morn, and Pyramids, all of this is correlating very strongly to what Anon the 9 leaked about potential Destiny 3 content. And all of that happened because, before the Activision split, Anon had claimed that these were really kind of early core ideas for D3, including a new enemy race, the Veil. But when Anon spoke about these, I'm pretty sure it would have only been concept material. However, it does look to be the case that this is being brought forward as an expansion idea, so that's pretty interesting in terms of the leak itself, and all of the correlations that have actually been sort of confirmed so far, running alongside specifically what Anon the 9 said, which is interesting because we still don't have anything that validates the most recent leaks, although we'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, do you guys think Bungie are teasing the new race in the wording right there? I personally think it's entirely possible. And best we know, the reveal of the full content drop is going to happen an hour or so before the launch of Season 11 next week on June 9th. So very curious to see what pans out there, and Bungie in a vidoc did say that Season 11 would be like no other time in Destiny, as the year-long story kind of builds to a climax. So, I mean, the scope is totally there, and hopefully it's going to pay off in the gameplay and delivery as well. But once again, give us your thoughts about it down in the comments section below. Now though, let's round up a few additional updates and things right here. So, Super pointed out a few pretty interesting perks that we can see in the database, and one of them would be double XP for the Season Pass. So it appears to be a pretty up-to-date bonus, but the Season Pass progression is currently doubled for a limited time. We haven't seen that activate this season, so maybe it's something Bungie are planning to use in the future. Unless, of course, it does pop up at the weekend or something like that. This could also be an additional mechanism that Bungie use in the future to adjust some of the kind of fear of missing out that's spoken about regarding Season Passes. But also, Overdrive is listed as a perk inside of the database. And this was the Sparrow perk in D1 that would actually allow you to overdrive the engine and travel at immense speeds at the greater risk of course, exploding. Don't believe that's actually on any Sparrows in D2, so maybe it's something else they're looking to bring back. I thought those were a couple of interesting mentions. But on the subject of sandbox changes that are coming up, of course over Season 11 and 12, a player was talking about how Trinity Ghoul is a little bit poopy, and DMG said, soon, and that is in reference to some of the bow buffs that we're going to be seeing. So a bit of a teaser that one could be doing pretty well, and of course being exotic could see additional tune-in. There was also a question after something that Bungie said a few days back about core activities sharing the world loot pool. So players asked, will that mean that there are no unique drops apart from one armor set? And Cosmo clarified how world loot pool changes are going to work in the future. So armor will come from specific activities like Crucible and Gambit and turning in tokens at the vendors. But you'll get weapons from the world loot pool listed in the TWAB. That's the long list of weapons coming in Season 11 they spoke about a few days ago. And those will drop from doing those activities or turning in tokens at the vendors. So for example, you would always get a Crucible armor from turning in tokens to Shacks, but you might get the Gambit sidearm for turning in Crucible tokens as well. And that triggered players to worry that we're not going to be getting new weapon sets for each core activity, which could correlate to something else that Bungie said, which is that we're going to be getting a single ritual weapon each season inside of Year 4, and then there's going to be an ornament earnable for each kind of core playlist. So Gambit, Strikes, and Crucible will have its own kind of pursuit ornament that you can then apply to the universal ritual weapon, right? And once again, seeing vendors with more significant updates, new inventories and stock is something that's brought up a lot in the community, and I totally agree. It doesn't necessarily sound like that's going to happen in terms of unique loot. Of course, they are combining the world pool, but those are reprise weapons and maybe not really what players talk about when they say vendor refresh. Give us your thoughts about that. It's going to be interesting to see how the loot changes pan out down the road. But with conversation about content going away, players have asked if the Trials of Osiris seal is going away forever. And to reiterate, Bungie said it will be back next season. You must complete it within one season, which means you can do it next season. But all of the requirements have to be done within that 3-month period. And that's going to be the same for the Conqueror title as well. Presumably, that will have different strikes required in order to get it done. And so bear those little bits in mind right there. Something I wanted to mention though here before we finish the video are some pretty ludicrous God mode glitches that you can use right now to get through Grandmaster difficulty Nightfalls. And Cheese Forever does have a video that I'll link down below with exactly how you can do it. There are various combinations of perks and things like that, but essentially, it's possible to gain the damage resistance of supers without actually having the super fully activated. So yeah, there are some potentially pretty stinky ways to get through some Grandmasters, so if that's something you're interested in, I'll link the video down below. Just curious that there are still some pretty broken things in D2 at the moment. And a very final mention before we finish, just in case this is something you're interested in, but the Bungie store tweeted that they now have the medallion pins available via Bungie rewards for Season of the Worthies. So if you've gained any of the new titles for this season, by being linked to Bungie rewards, you can claim a code that lets you purchase one of the medallion pins on the website, and all of those are now available for this season, in case you happen to be a collector. But for today, guys, that's what we have to speak about. So, of course, we are very close to getting much more solid and comprehensive details about the upcoming DLC, right? Both the small drop that we'll get for Season 11, but then how the game's going to be adjusted and changed in the fall. So be sure to keep it locked here on the channel, get subscribed and turn on notifications if you do enjoy the content. And just like you guys, I'm really looking forward to having more substantial and solid details to actually talk about. Bungie are definitely making us wait for it a little bit this time, but if you've enjoyed the video, a rating below really helps me out as well. And as always, be sure to give us any of your thoughts. But otherwise, for now, I appreciate you tuning in, guys, all of the recent support, and whatever you get up to, stay safe and have an awesome day.